everybody, welcome back to Ampersand Unique Gifts and Home Decor. Or if this is your first time, welcome, I'm glad you're here too. Today we are going to repurpose an old workbench drawer. So using the IOD birds from the Burkant series, we have those. That's a transfer, and then we have a paint inlay. We are going to use the Lattice Rose paint inlay, and we're going to use the damask sheets. We're going to use Debi's Design Diary DIY paint in partnership with Jami Ray Vintage. This is the Cottage color white linen. The Cottage color paint, different from the regular clay-based DIY paints, is this has a built-in sealer, so it'll be perfect for me to not have to do another coat of something to seal it. I have a Debi's Design Diary brush. I don't remember the name of what this brush is, but I will put all of the items used today in the description of the video. And then our repurposed item here is this awesome drawer. So I think it's gonna make a wonderful wall hanging for all of the tchotchkes, knickknacks, spices, anything that you want to put in this drawer. So yeah, if you don't already subscribe to our channel, I would love it if you would subscribe and click that notification bell so you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. All right, let's get started. I'll see you on the flip side.
First, we're going to go ahead and give it a really good cleaning because who knows what was in here. It's pretty filthy.
You're turning heads when you walk by. If they only knew you left me blind.
While I was cleaning it, I decided I was going to use Debi's Design Diary Salvation Solution in the color clear. And I had a little paint can mishap, so that is actually what is in this glass mason jar. I'm just going to do one coat. This is a stain blocker primer, and it helps to seal in any color that might come through. It also works with any smells if you've got something that has a little bit of a smell, if it's musky or anything. But I'm going to give the whole inside of this one layer here.
Okay, we're going to go ahead. Our Salvation Solution is dry, but before we put our white paint on here, we're going to go ahead and cut our inlay pieces out, because once we start painting, we're going to paint one coat and then paint a second coat, and then we have to put our inlay in the second coat. So we don't want to be trying to do our inlays here with wet paint and risk getting it down in there before it's ready. So we're going to go ahead and take this, and you'll notice there is a white side in between every one of them. And then here is our inlay, and this is the side that has the paint on it, and this is the side with the grid. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to this is the paint, so when we actually get ready to stick this in here, we're going to put the painted side down, the grid side up. So some of them, it's not as easy to tell. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put that back on it for now when I do my measurements. But it is, some of the older ones especially, I don't know if they've done anything a little bit different, but it was kind of hard to tell which side was the painted side, so you had to be really careful. So we're going to measure what we have here. And of course, wouldn't you know, I brought the ruler instead of the tape measure. About 11 3/8 inches by about 9, just right under 9.5. So we'll get the gist of that. So let's move this. And we'll measure on here. So we had just about 9.5. Our design starts just a hair down from there. So if I do 9.5 right on the edge, can you see where I'm actually measuring? No, sorry. Ugh, scoot me up a bit. There we go. So just about 9.5. Oh, I'm sorry, bump the camera. So that is right here on this line over here. Oh, can't use my right hand. Ouch, 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 ouch. You guys, if you have been following me, you know that I just recently had a carpal tunnel repair, and it was the second one. The first one was in July, and they had to go back in. This time they had to cut me. I took my bandage off that I had on earlier, so I'm just being very careful now, but it is very tender. And then we're gonna go over. So we know that we are on this line here. And the great thing about these is that it has the grids. So I'm going to do my best with my left hand to cut along the grid line here. I might be ambidextrous by the time this whole thing's over.
You don't even notice their starry eyes, 'cause you are looking straight into mine. Yeah, you could have anyone you want, but I'm the one who gets to take you home. It's the way that...
So we will cut off the edge here, and that will fit down in there perfectly. We'll go ahead and get our other ones cut. I don't have enough here for all of it, so I will use a little bit of the other sheet. There's 2 sheets, and I will use a little bit there, and then I'll still have about 2/3 of a sheet left that I can use on a smaller project. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these cut out before we get ready to put our white linen in there.
With the Cottage color, you really want to make sure that you give it a good stir. It has that built-in sealer and it'll separate when it sits. So in order to get the full pigment of the paint color, you really want to get it stirred very well. And then I go ahead, I'm just using a wet wipe here, I go ahead and clean my tools, aka my kitchen butter knife, really well so the sealer doesn't have a chance to harden, making it harder to clean. So I am going to attempt to stay within the inside of the boxes here because I really do love that blue-gray color that's all around the outside and then in between. And so I just want to give all of the inside portion a color of the white paint there.
But I'm the one who gets to take you home. It's the way that you love me in the morning. It's the way that you love me through the night. Let's just shut the blinds to keep the world in sight. Now I know I'm yours till the end of time.
If you're used to using the clay-based DIY paint, the Cottage colors takes a little getting used to. You're going to think you're not getting the coverage that you're used to seeing out of the paint. But watch how the second coat fills in those gaps, and it has a self-leveler, so it'll get rid of those brush strokes. The other thing you need to remember, of course, is it has that sealant in it. So you're not going to seal it. It's going to take away an entire step in the process. So here you can see one coat versus our second coat. So I promise you are going to get that coverage. Our 2 coats are dry, and we're going in with a third coat just on the bottom, or if it was a shelf, the back, because we are going to add a healthy coat of our paint, and then we're going to start adding in our inlay pieces.
I keep turning heads when I walk by. If they only knew that I am yours. I've had my fair share of love, but no one ever came as close as what you and I have right now. The ring on my finger tells me I'm the one. Love like this is one in a billion.
make sure once you get your inlay in there that you actually have connection so that it is touching the paint everywhere. And I'm just using my finger to kind of get rid of some bubbles that are in there. You don't want to overwork it. I'm about to cross that line. Because remember, it is paint on your inlay and you could smear your design. So I'm just making sure I'm kind of pouncing down in there. I'm not rubbing my hand across there because I don't want to risk that my paper shifts.
Let's just shut the blinds to keep the world in sight. Now I know I'm yours till the end of time. As long as I'm walking down the aisle, smiling, looking at me, with tears in your eyes, in this bubble forever. Is where I wanna stay. People only see your face. It's the way that you love me in the morning.
Okay, once you have all of your inlays in there, you can take I just have a kitchen paper towel that I soaked with water and then wring out because you don't want it to just be soaking wet. But you're going to take that water, and that's actually what is activating that paint. So I'm, dabbing it down. Again, don't smear it, don't wipe. You don't want to risk moving it so that you accidentally smear your design. And then once it dries, this sat for about 3 hours and it has dried. You can see where it's real pale, and that's how I know that it is completely dried. And I'm taking the paper towel again. You don't want to just completely saturate it, but you want to make sure that it's completely wet. If you try to peel it up and it gives you resistance, go ahead and get it wet again. Some people use a misting bottle. I just like to use a rag or paper towel. I feel like I have a little bit more control and don't get it too wet. And you're just going to slowly begin to peel that back. If you've gotten it too wet, sometimes it'll kind of rip your paper that you're peeling, but that's okay. Just keep going. But look at that. I mean, that is incredible. It's almost like I've hand painted that design in there. I'm gonna go ahead and get all of the rest of them out. And you can actually save the sheets. I don't know if it works as well if you use a paint with a sealer, but you can actually reuse them over again until the design no longer shows up. So I got a little bit of the paint up there on those edges, so I decided I'm just going to distress them. I'm using a very small sheet. It's actually 120 sandpaper, but I'm just using a very small sheet and sanding the edges just to kind of give it that rough look to match the original patina of the drawer. Because I haven't sealed in my paint inlay, I'm actually using a vacuum to get that sanding dust out of there for risk that I would get that wet. I'm going to just use a clear wax to seal in all of the wood pieces around the outside. It's a little bit old, so it's very dry. Also, I used a clear coat and sprayed and sealed my inlay. So using a chip brush, I'm just going to put that wax on, use a rag, and I'm going to wipe it off.
It's okay that you love me through the night. Let's just shut the blinds to keep the world inside. Now I know I'm yours till the end of time. As long as I'm walking down the aisle, you're smiling, looking at me, with tears in people, I only see your face.
I cut the birds down to put in there. In my head, it was just going to be perfect, but I think it looks too busy. So we're going to actually leave out the birds and leave it as is. Let me know in the comments whether you think I should have gone ahead and used the birds, if they would have added to it, or if you agree that they were too busy and that we should just leave it the way it is here.
So honestly, I didn't really need to use this wax, except that I'm going to use the Debi's Design Diary wax in dark because I feel like this just looks too new compared to the rest of the patina. So I apparently forgot to hit record, and you don't get to see me do this, but it's the same way. I'm going to wipe on the wax, and then I'm going to take a rag and wipe it off. But the clear wax gives me the control to act as an eraser in case I need to remove some of the dark wax. So once I have everything completely sealed in and buffed out, I'm going to add a sawtooth hanger on both sides, right and left, so that it allows it a way that it can hang and support it as a wall shelf. But I absolutely love the way it turned out. So here you go. Here it is in all of its glory.
You keep turning heads when you walk by. If they only knew you left me blind. You don't even notice their starry eyes, 'cause you are looking straight into mine. Yeah, you could have anyone you want, but I'm the one who gets to take you home.
I'm so glad that I went ahead and went with that dark wax. I think it toned it down and it really gave me that look I was going for, including sanding those edges down. It's the perfect patina.
The blinds to keep the world inside. Now I know I'm yours till the end of time. I keep turning